When, as a business owner, when should I take a loan? When should I be interested? Should I, if things seem to be fine right now, should I apply for any of these things? Should I, non-COVID and things are fine? Do I go for a loan? Like, when should someone go after money that they probably don't need at that point?
I think this is where having accurate sound projections going forward are so critical. You may not need the money now, but you may find that in 6 months you're going to have a hiccup, particularly if, say, take COVID out of it, you have a business that has a lot of seasonal revenues or is dependent upon, because we were talking to a client earlier this week that produces a product that is dependent upon local and state funding of law enforcement. Well, in the past, once you got past something like COVID, you've still got to address budget cuts, and you also, in this case, have to address the impact of defunding police. And so companies like this are going to have to say, okay, how do we adjust things going forward if there's so much uncertainty in the market, our primary market, that wasn't there 6 months ago? And so you've got to really say, hey, how do we go forward? And as far as when's the right time to borrow money, using the forecasts and you're able to start building a case for needing the money before you actually need it. I was a millennial. I have some customers that show up at 4:00 on Friday saying they need money for payroll. And you go, well, when do you need it? I need it right now because my crew's in the truck and they need to be paid. That's not the process you want to go through when you look for money. So that's where having a really good idea about where your business is headed and forecasting the next 6 to 12 months comes into play, because bankers not only are conservative, they don't like panic on the part of their business owners. And
so how do you forecast, though?
Well, this is where your background and your historical numbers are so critical to say, okay, I know, again, that in the fourth quarter, my revenues are going to go down because people stop buying in the fourth quarter, or the fiscal year ends September 30th. I don't know if my contracts are going to be extended. This is where the experience of the business owner has to be relied upon to build accurate numbers. And this is where the SBDC counselors say to their businesses, help us out here. We've got to build good forecasts. We've got to develop good models, but you need to tell us what has worked, what hasn't worked. Look at your
forecasting perspective. But from a forecasting perspective right now, business is open. And even if it can be a capacity issue, not every business is capacity. Like, how do you forecast such an unknown of people not willing to spend money because they're scared out of their minds to spend money? They don't want to go out. So how do you start putting in those kind of forecasting? And I get it from before, but like in July 2nd, 2020, new normal, things are weird, things are different. Like, how do you forecast something that you said 30 minutes ago you've never seen before? Like, to me, it seems like you're just guessing, and that's it.
Well, yeah, you could call it guessing, but it's more
educated guessing, a hypothesis. I learned that in third grade.
Hypothesis, that's a good word. But you want to. There is a element of the unknown, obviously. But this is where,
and there always is, I guess, right? There, anything could ever happen, right?
Right now, if you're part of a industry group, they can give you a lot of insights as to what's going on in other parts of the country, what's going on with other businesses. The past can typically be a good basis to build the future on, but these are uncertain times, to say the least. So you're going to have to say, as a business owner, this goes back to the whole idea of, can I operate profitably or at least break even at 50% capacity, 30%, 80%. And this is where a lot of particularly folks in the hospitality industry are really struggling, is that can they make it work at 50%? And some are saying, yeah, if we do this and we tweak that, we do more takeout, we do this, it might work. Others are going, forget it. This ain't going to work. And that's particularly true of a lot of the high-end restaurants. You've seen a lot of what they call the linen tablecloth restaurants, particularly in New York, are saying, we're not going to reopen. We just can't do it. So these are some of the industry statistics that you got to be able to pull in. And that's what we really stress with borrowers, regardless of their industry, is try to find out what other companies in your industry are doing, or other companies in your geographical area are doing. And this is where the advent and growth of the internet has been so helpful, is because in the past, you didn't know all this information immediately. It took months or years sometimes for people to find out what was going on elsewhere in the country or even in their own market. With the although social media has some downside to it, obviously, there's a lot of different avenues electronically to get information sent out that weren't available a few years ago. It certainly is a bit of a roll of the dice, but that's always been true with businesses that wanted to get started or wanted to grow. It's just, again, that you're right. The challenge is, with so many unknowns, how do you figure out the numbers? But you just do as much homework as you can, and that involves talking to other people in your industry, doing as much research as you can.